and we'd like, to be a chosen profession. And that's why we work very closely with academia, from school level right through to FET, and university level, in terms of promoting furniture design in South Africa and the rest of the continent, and hopefully the world. Thank you very much.
That is amazing. Honestly, I think me and you will touch base offline because I'm so curious about that. But we do have to wrap up. So thank you so much for joining us. I'd just like to pick up some last words from Miss Tanya if she's still online. If she's not, it's all right.
I'm here. I'm here.
Welcome back. Any last words, Miss Tanya, on for the youth? Because everything we do is really about the youth.
Totally. I think I want to pick up on what Bernadette was saying around, kind of the youth and training around sustainability, especially, and it's a very niche market and it's growing. That's what I thought until we started Plain Tiger, and I realized South Africa's got endless amounts of sustainable brands within beauty, fashion, and homeware. But all of them said to us, all we need is exposure. And that is what the youth and people are wanting right now, is exposure. Not just to our own market, but into international markets as well. And I was kind of just watching the behind the scenes camera where they were interviewing a few of the people that were in your expo. And it resonated with me that everyone was saying, I just need someone to know that I have this product. And I think that's what we can do for the market. And that's what we can do for the youth, is give them exposure and give them a platform or give them a voice to get their products out. And that is how we can support them. And then secondly, you were kind of chatting to Colleen about mentorship. I think that's something I'm incredibly passionate about. But what we started at Plain Tiger is the Sustainability Accelerator, where it takes smaller South African brands and helps them look at their supply chain and let it be end-to-end sustainable. And our dream and vision is obviously to get that to schools and tertiary education, that sustainability can be part of your curriculum and how you get trained and educated. So I think with time it will come, but there is definitely a need and a want. And I think our youth, our designers and our creators out there just need a platform and exposure. That's number one.
Love that. Thank you so much for joining us. I definitely have learned more. Hopefully I'll see you in Cape Town. And then,
Definitely.
Mr. Lungelo, so in closing, I'd left you with a question. Mentorship ne youth, good ena. Ngiyathemba mentorisha kodwa uma mentorisha it's fine. Abantu abeza emva kwethu ababukela kuthina thina sibashiya nani.
I-mentorship ibalulekile isiza ekuthenini kuzoba khona inkinga noma ama-challenges azohlangana nayo umuntu njenge-upcoming artist or in business. Kuzoba lula kuthina ngoba yonke lento azobe eyibuza into ozobe usudlulile kuyona, and izosiza ngokuthi umtshele ukuthi hayi i-challenge kanjalo kusuke sekuyifeze kanjena-ke leyo. Umenza lokho ukuthi angapheniki njalo uma izohlangana bizana ne-challenge, azayitshela ukuthi ibhizinisi ibhizinisi linzima, kodwa uma kukhona abantu abanjengathi asebethe ukuthi kunabo laba abanye kubenza ukuthi babe comfortable, akwazi ukuthi ukuthatha like step at a time. Yeah, ukuthi nje mayesho ukuthi hayi khona into ewukuthi engivele ngihlangabezane nayo, if ngizoxoxa mhlawumbe istory sami esizothi ukuba tough kunale yakhe situation noma le challenge yakhe, izomenza abe more comfortable, imenze futhi abe nomfutho ukuthi ayiphambili ngoba kusho ukuthi into ehleze ibhekana nazo futhi kuyadluleka futhi. Yes,
I love that. Okay, on that note, I'm already getting like hands. I'd just like to thank my expert panelists. We are closing. I've definitely learned a lot. You always come here thinking you know enough, and then you learn so many different things. So for your time, to my panelists, Ms. Colleen Aitken, thank you so much. Mr. Lungelo Klaba, Ms. Benedette, and Ms. Tanya. Angifuna ukuthi naba tuyithameli naba nani nonke abantu abahle abaphambi kwethu angifuna ukusho into wrong siyabonga ukuthi nithathe isikhathi senu sokuba la. I do believe there's one more session, so stay put, cela ningahambi. There's a lot to learn. KwiKwande Festival, KwaZulu-Natal Kwande Festival 2022. Igama lami nguFezile wakamdletshe, ngiyabonga kakhulu.
See you, Tanya. See you, Shaw.
Sorry, I was muted. Bye.
I think they muted us on purpose. Lovely to see you in person, Charles.
All right, yeah. I think so. I'm on the next panel.
You're on the next, you're on the next panel.
I assume we're just going to move over swiftly to the next one. I don't know.
Oh, sis. Bonus cheese. Hayi khipha imask. Bakubone kahle ekhaya. Nazo.
Yeah. Ngibumba ngesandla. Olumhlophe. Ngayiqedela nge-smoke firing.
Okay.
Ngaze makhona la okunye ngifuna ukukubuza.
Yeah, so how long are you in business?
Yeah, simite iminyaka ngikho sho kodwa ngo-2003 bese ngisebenza. Yeah, bese ngiqalile ngibumba.
Okay. And for abantu abenza le craft le, mayifuna uqala umuntu, what advice you have? Mhlambe nami ngifuna ukwenza nje yabo style sami sengibone wena ngaba motivated. Ngathi hayi, nami ngifuna ukwenza nje yabo ngifuna ngiqala kuphi? Material ngithola kanjani? Yabo ngenza kanjani nje? Yabo.
Ufuna izinto eziwu-2 kuqala, ungakayithengi i-material. Ufuna kube nesineke, kube nothando. Uzokwazi ukuyenza lento. Okwesithathu, usuzoqala ukuthenga i-material. Walisebenzisa ubumba olumbiwayo, kodwa lizokusebenzisa kakhulu ngoba linamatshe amaningi, lizomoya uliprocessa, ulikhipha amatshe, uligaya. Bese kuba khona olithengwayo ubumba nalo liyahlukana, khona olubomvu, khona olumhlophe. Luthambe kakhulu ngathi uphathi. Mawusaqala lizokuyekisa ukubumba ngoba uzothi uyayibumba into eveliwe. Uthi uyayibumba into eveliwe. Funa abantu asebekwazi ukubumba sebejwayele. Uma ngabe uqala ngeke uzokwazi ukwenza ngalo. So kodwa-ke ungaqala ngalo olumbiwayo uyifundise. Hayi, uma unothando nesineke uzoba right. Uma ungenaso isineke ngeke uzulunge ngoba le nto ayincane ukukuphoqa isiphelile. Ivele ibe ne-crack la, usuqedile. Kufanele uqale phansi, phinde ubumbe futhi. So isineke siyafuneka kakhulu.
So what made you ukuthi wenze le craft le? Mhlambe ungenzanga i-woodwork noma uhlali noma why okhamba?
Yeah, nami ngi-inspire umuntu. Ngibona umuntu obumbayo. Umngani wami uClive Sithole. Ngabona umsebenzi wakhe ngathi ngeke ngihlule le nto ngizoyifunda.
From the
Ngaqala lapho-ke na.
moderating this, one of the servants from the Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs Department. This is a very important session. Unfortunately, it was put at the end, and that means that the people who are here will get one of the very crucial factors in terms of what I call the oxygen of any business, which is money. Because after everything, after all the plans, after every creative and innovation, sometimes or most of the time we hit the snag because we don't have money or we lack funding as creatives. So we have in this program three panelists. I'll start from my far end with Mr. Ubongumusa, Mr. Mkhize from Old Mutual. Kabazela.
Baba, Njani. Thank you. My name is Ayanda Mkhize. I am from Old Mutual Financial Education. Basically, what we do is we focus on a slightly different angle when it comes to content creatives and artists. Just to give you some of the things as Old Mutual have done is that we've created a space for artists to actually go and produce their content. In Parktown, Johannesburg, we have a EMT studio that actually is available to up-and-coming artists to actually go and record whatever music that they've recorded. But the most important thing that we are focusing on when we have these artists is, and the reason why I'm here, is that we talk about the importance of managing their personal finances. Because what we've seen in our research we've seen that artists, over time you find that they battle in having to manage their personal finances. So we want to actually make them build a good relationship and actually maintain the relationship they have with their money. Like any relationship, it needs you to be present. So if you are not present in managing your money, believe you me, that can actually haunt you at the end of the day. So basically that it is that what we do as Old Mutual Financial Education.
Thanks, Kabazela. On my left, we have Miss Angela Shaw. There's an interesting concept which is called the NFT. Would you please take us through the NFT? What is it? How is it? How will it help the creatives, and how it will help to grow the creative industry or economy?
Hi, thank you for having me. So an NFT is a non-fungible token. It's a form of cryptocurrency. And to be honest, I'm not entirely convinced that I'm not sold on NFTs. I think they're still very new. There's this constant tension between should we be getting into NFTs, or should we wait and see what happens? There are a lot of ethical questions. They're extremely environmentally unfriendly because of the amount of electricity that's needed to provide the storage of the data that constitutes an NFT. And I still feel like there are more questions than answers around this as a version of art, or a way of collecting, or a way of deriving value of an artwork. I'm from the KwaZulu-Natal Society of Arts. I'm the director there, and our mandate is to work with early career artists and to help them establish their careers. And I'm very interested in, when I look around, I don't see people with massive access to data, to the hardware or software that drives or that's required to operate an NFT space. And yeah, for me, it still remains a huge question mark.
Thanks, Sean. Then joining us virtually to talk about how to sell contemporary artwork is Mr. Carl Bezuidenhout. Good afternoon, Carl, and welcome to this very last session.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. I was supposed to be sitting with you there, but because of the Kulula drama and all that, we are doing this from Cape Town. So I'm saying hello from Cape Town.
Thanks for joining us. What would you say in your opening, and greetings to Cape Town, personal greetings from KZN in Cape Town. What would you say it takes to sell contemporary artwork in South Africa?
Look, I've had a gallery in Cape Town now. I've been in the art business since 2000. And when I started, the gallery I worked for at the time didn't have a website. Many other of the bigger galleries in the country didn't have websites. And the reason why they didn't have websites is because at the time, the technology wasn't really suited for this medium, for paintings, for big images. I mean, I remember at the time it could take you anything between 10 and 20 minutes to download a small image of a painting that was maybe 200 kilobytes in size. So a lot of people said, no, this will never work, it's not suited for this medium, etc., etc. But technology changes, and people see the possibilities, and they work on solving those issues. And look at where we are.
Carl, we seem to have lost you. Okay, pardon us, ladies and gentlemen. It's a technical glitch. Apparently, they can hear the audio at the back, but we can't hear, so there's that loss of feed on this side. So they're trying to get Carl back. Okay, Carl. Unfortunately, we had a technical glitch in terms of the audio. We could see you, but we couldn't hear. I'll say about 60% of your input or your comments. However, when we're able to connect properly, we'll give you an opportunity. Hopefully, time will permit to take us through what you said. Can I go back to you, Kabazel? Before a creative akwazi ukuphatha noma ukumanager his personal finance, kufanele abe nayo imali.
Indeed.
Or let me say angafunda ukuthi uyiphatha kanjani but ngakakwazi ukupractice lokho kuyiphatha uma engenayo. What would you say perhaps are the key considerations that you as a financing institution, as Old Mutual, you consider when you receive a proposal, a funding request from the creative to finance their business plan or their event?
Let me start with your first part of your question. It is important for one to get to ukuthi azi ukuthi imali ilawulwa kanjani even though engakabi nayo, because that's what we do daily, because what we've seen that umsebenzi wama artist is seasonal and their income is seasonal. So what then happens is that we need to equip them so much that whenever they get to have a project that actually rakes in money, they are fully aware as to how actually to manage their finances. Because when you talk about issues of money, money brings about a certain feeling. You have this joyous feeling, and without you having to manage that, you find yourself having to spend unwisely. You are able to actually find yourself doing izinto that is not of importance, and you wake up later, you broke. And I know for a fact it's not glamorous to being broke. But also as a financial institution, look, we do receive our proposals. I know there's departments that actually deal with such. But from the space that I come from, apart from anything that happens in Old Mutual, the most important thing, our DNA as a company, is to say, look, with upcoming artists, we just want to make sure, or artists in general, we want to make sure that we equip them financially so that in whatever opportunities that may come about, they're fully aware as to how they should actually best manage their finances. And we do understand some of the challenges that they get to face, not being able to have adequate amount of money in terms of getting studio time and so forth and so forth. Hence, like I said, we actually created a space for them so that they are able to actually have access to such opportunities so that they are able to grow themselves. Wow.
Okay. Thanks, Kabazel. There's different platforms or methods of promoting and selling one's creative product or service. Would you say, Angela, that the NFT is the future or the present, or the concept of the NFT? How would you describe that to the creatives?
So I just want to qualify that I'm by no means a tech expert, and I'm obviously keeping an eye on NFTs because it's new and there's a lot of hype around it. I mean, for example, the first one of the most recent, and sort of middle of last year, an artwork NFT sold for $69 million from a relatively unknown artist. He kind of came out of nowhere, even though he had been working very hard for very, very many years. He wasn't known, and it is the third highest amount reached for any living artist ever. It sold more than a Monet. So you've got to look at it and go, what's going on here, and what is the potential, and is it something worth investing in? I think what's exciting about it is that it gives artists incredible agency. They have the ability to take their work. Obviously, it has to exist in a digital format, which, as I said, there are massive constraints to that. It assumes that people have access to data and digital hardware, computers, a lot amount of processing power. It assumes a whole lot of access to resources in the first place. But once an artist has that and is creating digital work, the fact that it can be accessed in an international marketplace and can be traded at such high prices is fascinating. As your question, is it the future, or is this now the way? For me, it's much too early to tell. It could be a fad. It could be something that everyone gets bored of, because at the end of the day, what is the artistic content? So, like somebody's tweet was auctioned or sold as an NFT for also millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, what's the value of that content? Like, is it, I think of like all the work that goes into a painting, for example, the years and years and years and years of practice and the hours and hours and hours of creating that work, and then there's that original work. And that somebody could potentially make a digital work that's like a video, or a digital screenshot, and now that is sold, and for that reason worth so much more. For me, the interesting questions around, again, it's like, well, how good is the art? So I think there are a lot of discussions around, well, what's the quality of the work? Also, crypto work doesn't last forever. Files corrupt. Images fade, etc. Audio clips pack in. Anyway, yeah. So just to go back to, is it the new thing? Look, it's definitely happening, and it provides artists interesting ways of selling at high prices. They've just got to find a way into that particular auction space, or that particular space in which that work is for sale. Whether it's sustainable, let's see.
Thanks, Angela. By the way, NFT, it's more like blockchaining the creative product. It's like like she's saying, it's like you create the blockchain, more like your crypto, kind of cryptocurrency, kind of trading of the different artistic products, like your paint or artwork. That's basically the NFT, non-fungible tokens. So it's creating value, as Angela was saying, and then pricing it and selling it, like as I say, in the blockchain. Back to you, Mr. President in Kapstad. Would you say, with the advent of the COVID-19 pandemic, are you finding it, what has it done? Has it created opportunities for selling contemporary art? If yes, what are the opportunities that have come up as a result of the pandemic?
Yeah, interesting question. I think, I mean, the obvious and easy answer or thing to suggest would be to say that, hey, people are spending more time in their homes and they perhaps have a desire to make it more beautiful or pleasant for them to be there, and therefore they would spend or be prepared to spend more money on art. So that's one possibility. I think the real thing that happened, though, is two things really. On the one hand, we were lucky in the art industry because most artists were actually able to produce. They could work at their homes and there was stock for us to sell, basically. It wasn't as if the factory closed or this or that happened. So there was product for us, and that was great. The second thing is, I think most art galleries actually, they have always had a strong leaning towards using technology in terms of whether it's the way that they presented themselves online in their websites or with social media and all that. So it's not as if the COVID pandemic made us use those tools. We've always been using them. But there were small nuance changes. And in my case, for instance, we typically sell paintings at the gallery for anything between, say, 50,000 Rand and 150,000 Rand. And that sort of number doesn't really translate well on the screen. When someone is looking for art, they're not going to spend that money if they're lucky enough to be able to spend that sort of money on art. It typically wouldn't happen through that process of, say, Instagram or whatever. So it allowed me the opportunity to find new artists whom I could sell at a lower price point and present them more successfully as a result of all those things on platforms like Instagram and all that. So that's an important point to ponder. And then the other thing I think that's really, really important is it made us understand the ecosystem in which we operate, in the sense that it's not like you sell online, you sell from your wall or at an art fair or any of those things. Each of those elements of our businesses are very important and they inform each other. It forms its own network. And when you have an exhibition, say at your gallery, you use your Instagram weeks in advance to start promoting it. Maybe you tie it in with an art fair that you're doing in Joburg and you plan the exhibition by this particular artist to take place maybe at a specific afterwards so that you can promote the exhibition at the fair. You know, the videos you make, everything. So basically what this taught us is that every element that is available to us is important. We have to use it as good as we can. And if you can do those things, then your gallery will probably be successful. And as I said in the beginning, yes, we were lucky enough that artists could produce while this was going on. And I think those are kind of the main areas of how the pandemic affected us as art dealers.
Okay, thanks. Let's give the audience the opportunity to pose if there are questions to our panelists. There's a hand there.
This question is directed at Angela. I'd just like to find out, as an up-and-coming visual artist, how do you value your work? Like, how do you monetize or basically know what to charge for the work that you're producing?
Okay, can you take another question? We're taking notes. Any other question? There's none. I'm seeing none. Angela, how do you value your artistic product? I guess in order to blockchain it or to sell it in the blockchain or in the NFT.
So I'm not qualified to speak about selling it in the blockchain because, as I said, it's really new, and it's not something that we are doing yet. But to go back to your question about being a practicing visual artist who wants to be in the art world, I want to circle back to Charles' point about the ecosystem. And this also does, what's the word? It also refers, I mean, NFTs, this applies to NFTs as well. NFTs are part of a large visual arts creative ecosystem. And so basically, what we've learned, and again, repeating what Charles said, is what we've learned is that we work with artists in KwaZulu-Natal. We've learned that if they don't turn up at art fairs, it's as if they're invisible to the industry. And that's been an amazing process for us to start, where we now go to the art fairs and take artists' work to the art fairs. We're very mindful of there is an ecosystem, and there is early career work. There's work in different mediums that's valued at particular prices. We're not valuers per se. We're not like a Strauss who will say this thing has a sales track record, therefore, and it's sold for this and this and this over the years, and this is where they're in the secondary market and they can track prices. We're very much in the primary market, working with early career artists who usually don't have a sales record. But we do have an understanding of what the market will pay and what collectors will pay for early career work in particular mediums. So, you know, and we've worked with artists who, I mean, for example, we took Stanjwa Latuli to Latitudes Art Fair in 2019, and his work is very large, very, very time consuming, and it was selling in the hundreds of thousands of rand, in the low hundreds of thousands, and it sold out at that fair, which was really exciting. And he's gone on to work with bigger national galleries, and he's now selling work in the millions of rands. So it's a process. It's a process. Nobody says, okay, that's what I think your work is worth. It's about saying you enter into the marketplace at a particular price point or in a price range, you try it out, and depending on how the market responds or how art collectors respond, on the kind of criticality, the media, the reviews that it gets, all of that is part of this quite complicated ecosystem. And like Charles said, you know, it all contributes. The value of the work and the presence of an artist in the economy depends on social media presence, depends on critical writing, which galleries you're working with, which art fairs you're going to, and obviously the work itself, and the conceptual strength and technical strength of the work.
Thanks, Angela. Any other question?
Can I just follow or add to what Angela just said?
Okay, Charles.
Sorry, yes, thank you. I just want to add one important thing there, and I absolutely agree with everything she says, but there's also this word in my mind that is, it's consistency. It's so important for artists to stay consistent in their pricing. And what I mean by that is, if you start at a certain price point, which is decided based on a few things, then don't, just because there's some people who are interested in it, all of a sudden hike the prices up, or at the same time, maybe when it's not being sold at a gallery, sell it to someone else privately at a much lower price. Those sort of things really has a bad or negative effect on your pricing in general. The best way to do things would be to that word, again, consistency. So if you start at, let's say, 10,000 Rand a piece, next year, a year later, you think to yourself, okay, well, you know, it's we've got 5-6% inflation. If I sell a piece now, then perhaps it should be a little bit more expensive to cover that. How do I do that? Or by how much do I increase it? And there you start thinking about, okay, how successful was I in the past year? Did I do an exhibition? Was that exhibition received well? Did I grow my audience by being shown at art fairs, etc.? If you can tick those boxes, and it went really well, then you can say, okay, well, maybe I should look at a 10 to 15% increase this year. And that's how you build over the years. Because what happens in 10 years' time, and a collector would ask you, as a dealer, he would say to you, yeah, but do you think this artist's work will increase in value? And then I will always respond by saying, look, I don't know. If it was that easy to say this, or to tell how, whether it will grow in value, then we'd all be really wealthy. But what I can tell you, though, is if you look at the artist's history, you'll see that in 2018 it was so much, by 2020 it was so much, we're now in 2022, and therefore you can see this sort of logical price increase. And that gives them a lot of comfort. But if the past has been up and down in pricing and demarcar, then you're really messing with your brand and your pricing. So yeah, again, consistency is a really important thing to consider.
Thanks, Charles. I think the response from both Angela and Charles speaks to one of the objectives of this Kwande, as narrated by the MEC in his opening remarks. He said one of the objectives was to gather market intelligence and to understand the pricing is one of the areas, because you need to understand your market, your target market. You also need to be understand the ecosystem that Angela and Charles spoke about, and also be consistent, which is what Charles was talking about. I think another point that came through was also in response to this question related to the profile, which is about branding and understanding the value of your brand, which is built over time as a creative, as well as your product is linked to your brand. I think, to me, the way they responded to the question, it brought about those few elements that determine whether you are doing it via NFT or whether you're just doing it in the mainstream market. I think those are the basics. Is there any other question? I'm seeing none. Let me do this. In wrapping, Charles, what would you say is the fundamental or critical consideration that the creative need to really observe or to adhere to for them to successfully, also sustainably sell their contemporary artwork in the South African or global market?
Look, yeah, I think for me as a gallerist, I'm looking at a few things, and one of them is work ethic. So there's that, being willing to put in the time, the effort, not precision, what's the word I'm looking for, the attention to detail and the valuing of quality. Oh, quality is so important. You know, when something looks rushed, or when something is framed badly, or dirty marks on a painting, that just shows no respect, and it doesn't inspire someone to own it. So that work ethic and that side of things is important. The other thing for me is not to be scared. You know, if Bob Dylan in the 60s listened to people who said he can't sing, or Tom Waits, or any of the famous musicians really, then we wouldn't have had him today. You need to be fearless. You need to say, well, this is what I do, this is what I want to do, and just do it. And I know it's easy for me to say that, because as an artist, you're putting your whole persona out there and you're open for criticism. But you need to stand out from everything else if you want to be successful. And that's something that stands out. Can't just stand out because you want to be different. It needs to be intellectually viable, almost, if there's such a term. People need to see, but here's someone who has an idea that's special, and they believe in it, and they're exploring it, and they're creating beautiful artworks out of that. So around those areas, being fearless, having a strong work ethic, and again, consistency, then the third point to that. If you can do those things, then, and maybe I'll add an integrity in your work, integrity in how you deal with clients. Those are the things I think that will put you on the right path.
Thanks, Charles. Angela, what would be your parting shot?
I think, again, to Charles' point about work ethic, the artists in KZN that are starting to achieve recognition are unbelievably hardworking. They are incredibly, their work ethic is astonishing. And so I think that's probably number one. And just encouragement to early career artists is, especially in this province, we are quite overlooked, and we're definitely working on that as a gallery, so that there is more national and international recognition of the incredible talent that comes out of Durban, and how that talent is nurtured and looked after while it's here. And I guess I do think I think for as an artist, it's an incredible life in which you have the opportunity to dredge incredibly deeply into your own psyche and into your own understanding and wisdom, and that's really what makes good art. Obviously, tons of work, which we've said already, but that very the rigor, the personal rigor that it takes to produce original work. There's lots of copying, there's lots of representation, that's same, but exciting work that goes on to become valuable is original work, and it's what's inside you.
Kabazel, in your parting words, what would you say are the most basic or fundamental principles that our creatives need to observe in order to manage their finances, but also attract financial injection from the likes of your retail banks like your Old Mutual?
Thank you. The most important thing that I would say is, due to the nature of the work that artists are actually doing, the most important thing that they need to understand is that they need to look at the opportunities of diversifying their income, because I think COVID-19 had showed us that we need to have multiple streams of income so that we are able to maintain ourselves and be able also to grow our business, because as a brand or as a business, since the nature of the work, our income is seasonal, so it needs you to have other streams of income that can actually take care of you and let your business flourish. And most importantly, you need to budget for the money that you get, and be careful as to the debt that you take on, and work hard. And if you've worked hard, you need to make sure that at the end will. You know, we've seen a lot of people that work hard and be creative and make a lot of money, but when they pass on, you find people actually fight over the things that they've worked hard for. So those are the challenges that we've seen in their space that we feel we need to actually empower them into having to do. And make use of banking accounts, because sometimes our industry or artist industry, sometimes there is that element of it being informal. So we need to make use of the facilities that are there, build your credit life using a bank account so that you're able to access some of the fundings that you might need in future, because we wouldn't know as to how you, and when you'll grow your business, what are the things that you'll need in future. So just make sure that you build yourself holistically, not forgetting your own individual self, because one thing that we know for sure, you don't want to add on the stresses that you already have. Finances can add on the stresses that one gets to have. So if managed properly, you're trying to reduce the stresses as a creative that you might have. Thank you.
Thanks, Kabazela. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Carl Charles in Cape Town. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last session, and as I said, we were trying to sort of a little bit pigeonhole ourselves within the financial retail understanding of the financial services, opportunities and how to manage them. We cannot overemphasize the importance of financial literacy. We cannot overemphasize, especially not only within creatives, generally as human beings, because no amount, you can make so much money. You've seen these shows on television of these people who got millions and just blew them because there was a lack of financial or personal finance management. And as Ukabazela said, out of all stresses that are there, the financial stress is the worst. And may we progress and work harder, because all the panelists have emphasized working hard, but also work harder in understanding the financial literacy. Let's understand the basic language, because for you to be successful in any sector or in any profession, you need to. I see there's a burning hand there. Is it really hot? I can feel the heat. I'll just give you the opportunity because I'm burning here. I was concluding, by the way.
Okay. Sanbona?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for giving me a chance when you were in the process of...
Ngicela keep a mask because we can hardly hear you.
Bengithi sanibonani, bengithi thank you very much for giving me a chance while you're in the process of vala meeting. Briefly, my question is for Ukabazela. I heard you saying Kabazela, so I'll say Kabazela. Kabazela, I want to find out, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a writer, producer, and director. So one of the problems we have in the industry is, especially when you get into production, is to ensure that we have enough in terms of financial backup for you to complete your film. Because we work with very small budget, we are now competing at an international stage or platform. So what normally assists filmmakers, if you're lucky, and we have stories about this, is what is called a film completion bond. So I want to know if Old Mutual does offer a film completion bond, and if you do not offer it, would you be open to conversations about this? Because it's one of the major issues for filmmakers. For instance, maybe just to complete my question, I'm sorry. Backup in terms of uzoyikhokha kanjani lo film completion bond, which is for instance, if you do, DTI does offer certain incentives as well. So that money comes through when you have completed production and post-production, so you always know which malakis of figure somewhere. However, so we think on this side of production, film completion bond. So do you offer it? Thank you.
Siyabonga umbuzo. Look, ngizophendula ngale ndlela. It's the very first time nami ngizwa about the bond that you're referring to. So I wouldn't say no, it doesn't exist within our company, because it could happen that within the company there are maybe departments who are abreast with such. But as a company, we get to venture in a lot of things. Like recently we had ventured in having to support some artists. There's a unit that is there to support the farmers, and so there's quite a lot of things that we get to do as a company. If it happens that we don't have perhaps whatever you're looking for, feel free to approach us, and we can then look around as to whether is it one thing that the company is actually looking to do. Because we as a company at times, we do get to have things that we do, like ama productions amancane that we do for in terms of our advertising and so forth and so forth. But I don't think there's anything stopping you to approaching us so that we get to see perhaps if we could be of assistance to you. Thank you.
Siyabonga sis. Kusasa bafowethu, we have a very packed program. Some of the topics that will be covered tomorrow relate to advertising, marketing, and obviously there's a common one that talks to mental health. There's also a session, I think it's session 2 tomorrow, that's dedicated to film production, and some of our speakers, which is one of our agencies and sponsor in this one, is the KZN Film Commission. So please do attend those tomorrow sessions as well. The program will be packed in as today's program. I wanted to ensure that we finish the program, although we started late, in exactly or before the time that was set. This program was set to end at 5 today. So hence I tried to moderate it such that we finish before the 5 o'clock time. This session was supposed to start at 3:45. Let me thank our panelists for the very in-depth and on a very technical session, because the topics that you were talking to were a bit technical, but also I think we were also a victim of it being the last session, and already people having become exhausted. But I've got good news for you, those who are still having the energy. We are closing this was, as I said, the last session. From 5 o'clock onwards, we're gonna have what we call the networking sessions. There will be performing artists. I've seen one coming in already. So there will be live performance. There will also be, as I said, networking sessions, ehambisana neiphuzo. So stay behind. Laba bafuna ukuhamba bahamba ukufakwe soju kwanda kwebhamu. Thanks, Carl, in Cape Town, and thanks to Angela and Ukabazela. Thanks for your participation, ladies and gentlemen, from the morning and in this session. To our exhibitors, tomorrow we are even expecting a full house. We've been up and down trying to facilitate. We wanted to test the waters today because we still are living within the restrictions of the COVID-19. So we wanted to, because there were quite a few people who had registered online, but didn't pitch up. So we are relaxing the attendance restrictions from after tomorrow. So there will be more, we're expecting more traffic. Also added to that, it's a Friday tomorrow. We'll also have the afternoon sessions as we have today. In fact, the networking sessions will be on all of the 3 days. So stay put, enjoy yourselves, dance to the music, sing when you want, if you feel like singing, and go out there, be creative while you're singing, and monetize on your creativity and make money. Thank you.
Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs presents the first annual KZN Kwande Fest, Creative Economy, Innovation and Business Week 2022, a 3-day initiative themed expanding your craft beyond your art. There has never been a perfect time to be a creative economic warrior like now. Join our star-studded engaging, creative conversation and connections with key industry players, exhibitions, visual art gallery, safe counseling spaces, pop-up recording studio, bookshop, fashion extravaganza, live performances, tech and innovation pod, and much, much more. Be a part of disruptive greatness from the 17th to the 19th of March at the Station Urban Event Space in the city of Durban. Register, follow and like us on all social media platforms and catch all 3 days streaming on YouTube and Facebook. For more information on activities, KZN Kwande Fest, wealth through creativity.